It's your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you again on April 30th, 2018, talking about Dave Matthews Band and a rumor that is circulating here on the internet. And for now, to me, it's just a rumor, but there are some strong sources. Shout out to C Dizzy on from Ants Marching and some other connects that have been able to post some things and get some things on the internet for fans like me to look into what may be going on. But we're going to talk today about Buddy Strong. He is a keys player that is rumored to be joining the lineup for the Dave Matthews Band this summer. Now, he played for Usher. He's played in the church. There's a lot of videos of him singing gospel music. There's also videos of him just jamming out here. And I believe he's from Phoenix, Arizona area. But I just wanted to give some initial thoughts on this idea of a keys player joining this band at this time in 2018. The first thing that really needs to be a prerequisite, if this is true, again, this is allegedly, we really need to have, as I've said time and time again, Tim Reynolds, Rashawn, even a little bit of Jeff, they need to tone it down. Hopefully that is the case. There are times where you can go crazy as part of this band's music and history. There's certain parts of songs where you can do that. But my concern is what's been happening since around 2010-ish, as the band has, started to move away from, obviously LeRoy had passed, and they started developing this 3.0 era, whatever you want to call it. Certain songs, as I've said time and time again, get too loud too early. You have Tim playing over Dave parts, and there really needs to be more of a build-up of certain songs like Seek Up. You can't just go crazy at the beginning while the techniques that Rashawn and Jeff are using on those woodwinds as a former clarinet player, those things are hard to execute, especially for Jeff. Again, me having a little experience playing band and playing clarinet, but it's not about that showing off your skills. It's about having a balance. The core of this band was, or at least at the beginning, it was this idea of being more acoustic based. It was a band, but they still allowed for Dave to play through. You could hear him in portions of the songs, and that's not the case as much anymore. So hopefully, if this rumor is true, Tim will turn down. Tim, please turn down. Maybe this is just, I'm wishing upon a star, but maybe he'll be on acoustic guitar in a perfect world, okay? After World Peace, Tim will stay exclusively on an acoustic guitar. The reason I say that again is because when Tim is on an acoustic guitar, not only does he do amazing things, but he is not as blaring as far as his sound in blocking out Dave, blocking out other parts like a bass line, or allowing you to be able to take in his parts with the drums, with the bass, and with some of the lighter horn parts. So hopefully Tim turns down now that we have a keyboard player who can fill in some empty spaces. And again, I cannot stress this enough, Rashawn is my boy. That's my guy. But he hopefully will tone it down a little bit. You can do your amazing, noises and techniques and different things in certain parts, but hopefully overall we get a little less horns and we let the piano fill in the void of Boyd. Now, will we get a violin player? I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult, and the reason I say that is because first, as I've said time and time again, the band set up this whole, hey, boys not touring, after many professional fiddle players were already set up for their year, because most fiddle players are not making DMB money. So they have to commit to these acts. They got to get their schedules straight so they can feed their families. So I think that there is that idea of someone who can play that big part in the band and already be signed on and ready to go. I think it's nearly impossible because all the great players have already set themselves up with other projects, other commitments. And DMB doesn't just tour for a little bit and then leave. They tour the entire summer. So I don't think there's going to be a fiddle player. And to be honest, with the piano being announced, I was okay with going to shows without a violinist, but I'm even more okay with going to shows because I think the piano will fill in some voids. So this is great news. And it's ironic because me personally, when I first started going to live shows, I knew about this band from the mid 2000s. But when I started going to live shows, at that time I was more into alternative rock, some alternative metal. Shout out to Disturbed. And I was back into, back in my childhood, I was big into Linkin Park too, and some of these other bands, Breaking Benjamin. And I know people may not like them, but that's what I was into. So I loved how Tim was loud initially when I started going to live shows. But then as time has gotten on, I've wished that he's kind of been able to or hope that he could tone it down, even with the big whiskey music. So I think that it's great that there is a pianist that allegedly may be coming. One thing I want to point out as well, this is just me coming from a gospel music family. My cousin is a minister of music at a church, and I've had various family members that have sang in the choir, that have played other instruments. My other uncle went to Boston Conservatory, and he's played in the church, out of the church. So I have a huge wheelhouse of knowledge, and I also play in my I help out some of the youth at my church, and I play in our church band. And what my role is, I'm not a super talented electric guitar player. I'm pretty intermediate, but I'm trying to teach and encourage these kids that are hopping in on the keys, on the drums, to be high schoolers, even just into that college age, so that they can learn how to play in a band. And they're more, I feel like they have the potential to be more talented than me. But that's my story, is I'm studying gospel music nonstop on a weekly basis because I have gigs with our youth church band, and that band plays at the church, bi-weekly. So one thing about this guy, Buddy Strong, is he comes from a gospel background. And one of the things that has been going on in the world of gospel is, well, over the last 15 years, in the traditional African American gospel music portion of, praise and worship music, or Christian music, you have a lot more electric guitar than any other era. It was always growing up in the church for the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, 70s, and 80s. My grandfather was a pastor, but all the way through to the 90s, electric guitar was not even thought of to even be played in a church that much. Maybe there were some here and there, but it was organ driven, it was keys driven, and that's just because of the tradition of churches being built with an organ, having the keys that could fill in. All you needed was one person. You can't have a hymn with an acoustic guitar, just it by itself, but you can have a hymn with just a keys player. So because of that history, electric guitar wasn't into the framework of gospel music, and especially for African American gospel music. It just wasn't a factor until about the 2000s, when you have all these younger and energetic and modern musicians coming through the church, and they play with other genres, or they're more open to other genres. So you have a lot of electric guitars, and you have other bass, and you have different instruments outside of the organ and the keys being the only thing that matters. Why is this important? Well, because Buddy Strong, I just looked over some of his jams. It's important because if you're coming from the church, and just the black church in general, that's where Buddy has a lot of videos from, and obviously he's been with Usher. You have to be able to fit in with instruments like a saxophone, like a bassist, like an electric guitar. And some of the jams, and I only seen a little bit before I made this video, but some of these jams, it seems like he can fit in, and it's a jazzy feel. So hopefully with Buddy Strong here, allegedly again, they will have more of a jazz feel, because I love DMB jazz. As we look at I believe the 22nd anniversary of Crash, songs like 41 to me are just, yeah, I know obviously it's a popular song, but the reason I like it so much is because of the jazziness of it. And even Captain, I love that, and Crush. Those songs to me are some of my favorite moments of the band. So hopefully they will bring that beat back, as far as that jazz beat back, and you'll have more jazzier versions of songs. I look forward to hearing 41, especially with keys again. And hopefully Tim, turn it down. Let's just relax, and let's hear keys in the acoustic guitar. I want to hear Dave acoustic guitar with the full band. I don't want to hear Warehouse where you hear Tim loudly playing over Dave's parts for most of the song. So I want, again, emphasis is I love all these musicians. They're very talented, but I think bringing in Buddy Strong will help balance out the band and turn down some of the louder portions of Tim Reynolds, Rashawn, and a little bit of Jeff, but it's really Rashawn and Tim that are the ones that go a little too ham. They go a little too loud in parts that should be quieter. Hopefully we get a Don't Drink the Water with a lot more of a keys heavy beginning and Dave heavy beginning without the loud screams of kind of hard rock from Tim. And then at the end you can go ham, you can bring in the electric guitars. Halloween, bring in the electric guitars, but again, I pray, I hope that this band will sound more acoustic and jazzy with the introduction of Buddy Strong. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this new addition to, allegedly new addition to the band. I am excited for this, and I think that people freaking out over Boyd, while he is someone that's going to be missed, and I wish him the best for recovering from those, any demons or any issues he's facing, it's not as big as people think. And as I said earlier, I believe it was on, I think I was on one of the DMB family page. To me, while the violin is unique for the band, it sets it apart from other bands that are in folk and in alternative rock and in whatever facet of music here in the mainstream or slightly underground. The violin is a big standout for DMB. But to me, the bigger values of this band from its beginnings in the core of this band are Dave's guitar playing. Shout out to Chester Copperpot. He had a video that showed Dave playing What Would You Say, the jam section with a broken string. That's to me, that's a huge part of what sets DMB apart is Dave's playing it's not traditional acoustic guitar. It's not the cliche Howie Day or Jack Johnson type playing. He's playing these chords in unique ways. He has different setups for his chords, and the uniquely DMB bass. You look at Satellite, you look at What Would You Say, you look at Captain, and even Warehouse. He has a banjo effect on kind of what he's doing in Warehouse. That's not what people were doing back in the 90s. It's not what people really do today, outside of Philip Phillips, who has an influence from him. But what I like about Dave Matthews and John Mayer, people give him crap, but what I like about both of them is they have very mainstream friendly songs. But if you break that song apart, if you try to play that song, it's very hard to actually play it and master it in 5 minutes, where you can master an Ed Sheeran song pretty quickly. You can master a Jack Johnson song pretty quickly. And Jack Johnson, he's the man. But again, it's simple. But what Dave does, that's the first facet of what I think DMB really makes DMB unique outside of the violin is Dave's playing. The second one is Carter's drumming, the way he drums, the sounds you get from him, his skill and expertise. That's number two. That's the second thing I'll put over Boyd and what he brings. Is Carter's drumming is why, I can hear a song for the 15th time and be upset that they're repeating that song and it gets too much play, like Seven, like Shake Me Like a Monkey, what? So those songs, like, they get played too much, but when I can just zero in on Carter's playing, and it's like, yo, this lightens it up. Like, it's just like every time I hear Carter play, I can pick out something different. And then the third thing that I'll put over, as far as if we're ranking or kind of valuing what what is big about this band and what makes it unique, is obviously Leroy Moore, rest in peace. His saxophone playing stands out. And Jeff Coffin is a great saxophone player, and he's done a great job of replicating those Leroy sounds, but no one will ever be Leroy. But his playing on saxophone, on flute, to me, I value that over Boyd. And I know most people won't. Most people will say Boyd is, the number one or number two biggest thing about the band that makes him unique. But to me, it's Carter's drumming, Dave's guitar playing, and Leroy's playing as well. Those are three things that separate the band from all those other bands that were trying to do alternative rock music back in the day, all the bands now, although there's not many that copy or even try to imitate Dave Matthews Band, except the cover bands and a couple bros in college that were trying to get girls and playing Crash Into Me. Those are the only kind of, I don't see a lot of people trying to replicate DMB, and then Philip Phillips, right, as I said that earlier. But I just think that it's going to be okay, guys. I know emotionally for many people, Boyd was the spirit of the band. But to me, I just think that there's more that can be brought back that can make this band better than 2016. 2016, the bar wasn't, to me, 2016 was okay. It was a good year, but it wasn't anything great. If you lose Boyd, but you bring back hearing Dave's guitar, you let a keyboard come in, and you let, again, if you let parts slowly build up, don't go ham in the first 5 minutes of Don't Drink the Water or Seek Up. If you do those things and keep this more acoustic-driven spirit of the band, this will be a better tour than 2016, okay? 2016 was, again, I appreciate the tour. I'd never take a show for granted, but it was a disappointment in many ways because I thought they would whip out more songs from the vault. I thought they would put songs in rotation that were, even if you're repeating the same songs, they'd be better. Like in 2013, they brought back Captain. I'd rather hear Captain a bunch of times back for the time in the Northeast they brought it back than Crash Into Me a bajillion times, then Mercy a bajillion times, and then Seven. They played a lot of Big Whiskey in 2016 that I thought could have been cut out because we've gotten our fill of Big Whiskey over the last, since it came out, in 2000, was that 08, 09? But I'm excited for this band. As much as I criticize and critique, it's only because I love this band, just like I love a sports team. And I understand, again, everyone who may be upset about Boyd, you have a right to be upset, but I think that there are other elements that can be brought back without Boyd, and hopefully Buddy Strong brings back some of those classic acoustic, jazzy vibes that DMB once had a long, long time ago. It's your boy Concertvist34. Thank you for everyone who may be watching. I've seen a one pop up here and there. But even if it's one person watching now and 10 people watching later, I do this because I love sharing my thoughts. So definitely like, comment, subscribe, dislike, whatever you want to do, however you react. I always appreciate it. All right, I'm out.